Yo, 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 what's happening, y'all? We are back with part two of the NCAA football Mount Rushmore. I'm back with my man Jay Will the third. This is episode 87, man. Welcome back, Jay.
What's good, man? How you been?
Oh man, slow for the pole, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, life.
That's all we can
Every
say.
day.
Life
Yes, sir.
every day. What'd you just say? It's been a long year and the year just started.
Yeah, and then we ain't got any more football till August. Yeah, I'm kind of hurt. Kind of hurt.
It's still YouTube though.
Yeah.
YouTube and it's our show. We'll keep football alive. Don't worry, we got y'all, man.
Sir.
So I'm here with the brilliant mind of Jay Will the third, y'all. We are we left off at Michigan University. So
Mhm.
Jay, talk to me. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of Michigan Wolverines?
All right. So Michigan was an interesting one because once again, just the bigger the program, harder it's going to be able to find guys. Like you got to remember, I think Michigan is like one and like the most wins like in the NCAA history. I think somewhere one or two behind Ohio State or something.
Yeah,
So it's tough. But
that was a tough one.
without further ado, to start off my Mount Rushmore,
Mm-hmm.
um, Charles Woodson,
Yep.
1997 Heisman winner, 18 total interceptions. Just in my opinion, I don't know if I sound biased saying this, maybe the best cornerback in NCAA history. That may be hard to say because there's so many great ones that we're going to get to a little later in this show.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he is the best corner in NCAA history. Next up, I have Braylon Edwards. Leads Michigan all time in receptions with 252 catches. Had 3,401 receiving yards. Also had 39 touchdowns. All in all, was just a really, really great player for Michigan. This is where I kind of started getting shaky at because this is where it's like, okay, there's so many great players. Who can fill those last two roles? For third, I put Desmond Howard. And Desmond Howard is a tricky one because even though he has that Heisman Trophy, I don't believe he ever had a year where he just cracked 1,000. But I do think that year Michigan was kind of run heavy, so I won't take off for him from that. But like I said, he did have 19. He did have 19 touchdowns. Did have in total 2,000 receiving yards, and of course he had that Heisman year. I can't remember what year he won that Heisman. Was it 90?
97 was Charles.
Oh, he was early 90.
95, I think.
One of the ones. But all in all, another great player. Last but not least, and this is such a tricky one because there's so many guys, but I have Anthony Carter, who had 33 touchdowns, over 260 receiving yards, and was also a Heisman finalist, I believe. I can't remember what year. I don't know why didn't put the year down, but I believe he was a Heisman finalist one year, and then he placed like top 10 the other year. I think that was his junior year. Um, I'm interested in what you have to say about your list because honestly, looking back, there was probably I was probably picking out of like 10 guys. And like I kind of just had to like narrow it to like a final four. But it's
I
just so many.
think we the same. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was looking at Um, I was actually look. That's crazy. I was looking at 10 players myself, Jay Will.
Yes, I'm
But
not
I'm not gonna lie to you. I do have like three out of four of those.
okay.
That fourth one you're gonna find interesting. So I have to put Blake Corum as an honorable mention. He's not on my mind.
Respect that.
Uh, this is gonna be tough. And shout out to my pop. I think we got into an argument about this one. Um, I definitely put Charles Woodson up there. He's my guy. I agree with you 100%. I think that Heisman winner stamped him and he's had a hell of a career. I think he definitely is one of the best corners in NCAA history. In my opinion, top five, top three.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
I have to definitely say Braylon Edwards. I cannot knock him. He definitely is still the all-time leading in Michigan history. Desmond Howard, the reason why I put him is because of the Heisman. That Heisman stamped him. And It's not a player. This is not a player. I put Coach Bo up there.
Hmm,
Coach 20 seasons with Michigan. I that's why I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hit Jay Will differently.
that's
I was like,
interesting.
I was interested to see what you was gonna say because I think last time I asked you, can we put coaches? And I think you said you was cool with that. So that's how
Yeah.
let me put a coach up there. I put Coach Bo instead of the other players.
Okay, that's cool. If we would have did coaches, oh, this my list. My entire list would have been so.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm saying. Like, I think I might
I don't know.
switch it up. Yeah, we can put coaches on there because I think I remember I asked you last episode if we could do that, and you said you didn't have a problem with it. So that's why I was like, I feel like he would. Coach Bo is like the face of Michigan, man.
Oh, of course.
He paved the way. 20 years, you can't knock that, man. He is like football greatness. So I
He's
wish I
the.
would have had the honor to like see him coach. I know he stopped coaching when the year I was born.
Hmm.
So
But
shout
he's
out to
the
Coach
reason why
Bo.
Michigan is Michigan today.
Exactly.
I'm not knocking that one at all.
Yeah.
Completely understand. You said you had Blake Corum honorable mention. I was thinking him too because he also had two great seasons at Michigan. Like he was arguably the best running back um
Exactly.
in the nation both seasons. He's the reason they won that championship. Him and Donovan Edwards, great team. I don't knock you for that. But yeah, I feel like only shaky one was just Desmond Howard. Like I know he had the national championship, or he has to,
Yeah,
excuse me, Heisman. Like just looking through his stuff, it was like, man, I can't knock him for the Heisman, of course, but
I can't
it's
either.
not
That's
just crazy like eye popping to me. And it was one of those things where I kind of had to go back, watch some tape. But even then, like I said, great player. Don't get me wrong.
yeah, great player.
It was just hard for me to like put him in there. But I feel like that Heisman, I feel like I had to because I can't knock somebody who won a Heisman. You know what I mean?
Facts. And the two seasons kind of bothered me too. I was like, damn, he really did only play that
Yeah.
two seasons. So, like I said, I just feel like you know, but he still had 2,000 yards each time. He had two
It's
thousand yards. It's like career.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like I told you, like I value the more seasons you stayed at the school
Right.
because that further
Yeah.
cements, your legacy. Even though there's some guys later on, especially this next one, where it's like, okay, he didn't play that many years, but he did a lot in that time period. So
So it's. I was interested to see what you were gonna say about that. So
yeah,
glad I didn't get flamed for it. So
I don't know. I feel like he's a catalyst. I can't disrespect,
yeah.
can't disrespect him.
So we got Auburn is next.
This is the interesting one to me.
Now I'm not gonna lie to you.
I
The
feel like
fourth person, because I only really see three great players that played at Auburn. I don't really see like eye popping people that are like, oh God, he was him. Or I even thought about pissing you off and putting that punt returner person who ran back for that touchdown against.
oh man, look
Just
that
kind
one.
of like,
Look, I'm an Alabama hater. That one pissed me off.
yeah.
Number one.
So
I
I
may
was
smile and
looking
agree
like,
with you.
I'm sitting here. I ain't gonna lie, Jay. This took the longest because I'm like, who, and Auburn was like that. Besides, okay, let me give you my three first.
All right,
I got to put my man Bo Jackson.
unanimous.
Got to put Cam Newton, Daniel Carlson, and I went with Trey Mason.
Interesting. You said you had three. I only got two on your list. I'm not gonna hold you. Of course.
Yeah,
Listen,
I had to do the four though. I had.
so of course, Bo, like I said, unanimous. Feel like I
Mhm.
don't have to speak on him for the people who do not know. Ran for over 400 that for 4,000 yards. Excuse me, 45 total touchdowns. Senior year ran for 1,800. Unanimous, like no questions. Secondly, I did put Cam Newton. I feel like when I first started doing research, I was like, okay, Cam Newton, obviously an Auburn great, but is there any other players in Auburn history that deserves to be on that Mount Rushmore because at the end of the day, Cam only stayed there for 1 year. It's just that what he did in that year was tremendous. And like looking through the names, it was still kind of like, okay, they're great players, but I still feel like Cam deserves more recognition on that Mount Rushmore. So shout out to
Right.
Cam. Now, my last two people are different.
Mm-hmm.
For number three, I have Cadillac Williams. Um, had 3,800 rushing yards, 46 total touchdowns as a running back, and he also was a great special teams player. Special teams player. He won in 2004, won SEC Special Teams Player of the Year. Um, and he was kind of the gem in that Auburn year because I feel like I was watching. He was one of those guys where I knew who he was because he was an interim coach for Auburn a couple of years back, whatever, and did a
Yeah.
good job actually. But it also seemed like he kind of carried that team on his back. It was one of those situations where like the offense wasn't really rolling unless he had the ball and he was being productive. So I
Right.
have him as three. Number four, I'm gonna take you back to 1985. I have Tracy Rocker, um, 21 career sacks, 354 tackles. 58 of those were for loss. Also, three-time All SEC, two-time All American. He's one of those guys who also played 4 years as a starter, so I couldn't really disrespect him. Freshman year, he was really good, but his sack numbers really wasn't up there until his junior year. But he was still really effective as a run stopper. I feel like I couldn't disrespect those three-time All SEC conference selections, so that's why I have him as number four spot. But Trey Mason was one I kind of debated on.
Not about Tracy. I forgot Tracy even went to Auburn.
Yeah,
Wow.
I couldn't tell you how
Not
good he
gonna
was.
lie to you. Trey Mason had to come off then. I really forgot Tracy that went there. I forgot about him.
This is a tough one too. I feel like I really love to like have an Auburn fan input because I know they love Cadillac Williams as well.
Right.
I just wonder if they will put him on that same stature as I do because he is an icon in Auburn. But that's a tough one. Did you have any thoughts with Cam being on there just because he had the one season, or was it kind of like a
It
like,
kind of was like the Joe Burrow situation with LSU.
yeah,
You know, that 1 year was impactful. So no, I had no choice but to put that on me. You know, I have to respect that. So yeah,
yeah, that's a crazy year. Even when doing like looking up research on that, it's insane,
that's true. That's true.
insane.
Here's your here's your all-time rival with the Gators.
We can skip this one for Isaiah. No, I'm just joking.
You want to say?
This is a tough one, but we beat two of these players on my list, so I'm not, I'm fine.
Talk to me.
All right, so obviously, get the obvious one out the way. Uh, Tim Tebow,
Hmm.
um, great player, 88 touchdowns, only 16 interceptions. Actually holds the SEC record as well for most rushing touchdowns in a career with 57. I did not know that
That's crazy.
until I looked that up, and I was like, wow! And especially as a quarterback, that's insane. Also had 3,000 yards rushing to add on top of that. Heisman winner, national championship. Another one of those guys where I feel like he's unanimous. One of those guys you really don't have to think about. Um, Now this is where it gets interesting for me. Secondly, I have Danny Werfel. Not pretty sure if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Hmm.
Um, Four-time SEC champ. He has over 9, 10 awards for Florida alone with Davy O'Brien Awards, Walter Payton Awards, Unitas Johnny Unitas Awards. He had over 120 touchdowns and also had over 10,000 yards passing, which I feel like is a very, very hard thing to do. And I feel like if you're a quarterback and for your career you have over that mark, I feel like you should be on any Mount Rushmore list, no matter what anybody says, in my opinion. Um, he's also another guy I feel like was a like I forgot to say that earlier. Now this is where it gets interesting. My third person, I have Wilbur Marshall, played in 1983.
I know Wilbur. Yep.
Was a two-time All-American. Kind of played. he could probably kind of do everything when I watched his film. He could stop the run. He could, kind of lurk in the background, lurk in the backfield, catch some interceptions. Um, very, very all around. He's a very, very rare player in my opinion, because it kind of seems like he could do anything on that front seven if you wanted him to. If you wanted him to be the defensive tackle, he could do that. If you want him back out in coverage, he could also do that. I'm really surprised. I really would have wished I would have saw how his NFL career kind of went.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like a guy like that, any
he
team,
got some good numbers. He got good numbers. I'm looking at it right now. Damn.
yeah, he's a tough one. And then last but not least, I do have to put Percy Harvin in my
Mhm.
last spot. Um, over 3,700 yards of total scrimmage yards, with around 32 total touchdowns. Also, did not know that year in I believe it was 2007 or eight, not sure. He led the entire nation in rushing yards per attempt with 9.2 yards per carry. That's kind of crazy,
It's impressive.
especially since he was also, kind of played two positions. He's That's kind of tough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of those things where like he had like a breakout 90-yard run. He was a very consistent runner as well. So it wasn't just like, stat inflations or anything like that.
Right.
But I think that's going to have to be my four. This is another tough one too, because
Florida,
to put my boy,
Florida was too loaded.
I wanted one of
Shut up, man.
my
Huh?
favorite my favorite football player all time that's not at Ole Miss, Veron Hargraves. I had to ignore. I biasly wanted to put him in for a second. He was a cornerback in like 2014, same time as Jalen Ramsey. I wanted to put him so bad, but I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be too many people on this Florida team to even consider him, and
Really, brother.
I stood corrected.
Really. Um, I definitely got to go with Tim Tebow for what he did to that school. Especially him under Urban was incredible. Great years.
Mhm.
Um, I'm definitely gonna go with Percy Harvin as well. He was the Travis Hunter before Travis Hunter. Like you said, played two positions, and a lot of people don't know he was on defensive special teams as well.
See,
So
I didn't know that.
that's why it was like that was definitely a no-brainer. Gotta put Steve Spurrier, one of the great coaches of there. And you're gonna disagree with this, but I had to. I'm gonna put Joe Hayden. He was one of them lockdown corners. He had a great freshman year until he got his ankle hurt. And then in 2009, he had a phenomenal year, All American, unanimous, and All SEC too. He was a great shutdown lockdown corner in 2009. So I cannot sleep on that 2009 season.
Yeah, I don't know if I can put him over Danny though.
I just,
That's a tough one. And I like Joe
and
Hayden.
like I said, it's just the fact, like I said, people, the numbers not there, but it's just, I also look at he ain't been nobody targeted him, nobody threw it his way, and then they did. He was locked down. So I gotta put him up there as one.
100%. And I'm kind of happy that you mentioned that also because I feel like people need to be reminded, and I hate seeing this on social media. People will look at cornerbacks and post like their stats, like how many interceptions they have.
Yes, and I can't
And I'm
stand
sitting
that,
there
Jay.
thinking
I
like
can't
that
stand that.
does not matter. Like you have to actually watch these guys to know, okay, this guy really good. This guy, even though he can, sometimes he can get interceptions, he still gets,
Mhm.
blown by him, coverage and it's all messy. So I pray every day, or I preach every day, excuse me, that people will stop judging cornerbacks by stats because that is
All
very
the time. Because even look at the boy from Philly, Quinyon Mitchell, rookie, phenomenal rookie. People be like, "Well, his numbers." I was like, "No, don't look at the numbers. Look how many times he wasn't targeted,
look who he's matching up against. And look at
and look at their numbers." That's what
exactly.
I'm saying. Like people always want to be like, "Oh, stop doing that. Stop doing that."
You can tell that's how you can tell who watches football and who doesn't, though.
Exactly, bro. So I know you're glad you got that disgusting team out the way.
Wait, so can you remind me your top four again for Florida, just so I can?
Florida, I had Tim Tebow,
Hmm.
I had Steve Spurrier, Percy Harvin, and Joe Hayden.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm. Probably gonna get some heat for that Joe Hayden, but I'll be ready for him. I'll be ready for him. So here were another disgusting school, Florida State.
Ugh, ugh. This one was very interesting. A lot of people like doing research. Most of my list, probably like top 10, came from that 90s era, which doesn't surprise me at all. Like most of my people came from that 90s era. Um, my first person,
Hmm.
um, Charlie Ward, over 60 touchdowns, 6,000 yards in just 2 seasons. Heisman winner and was a finalist the next year. Um, also, fun fact, I did not know this. When he first got to FSU, he actually started off as a punter, getting snaps mainly there before actually, you know, kind of falling into the line.
Hmm.
That's actually kind of an interesting fact I found out about that. Also, of course, he's a champ.
Yeah.
Can't knock that on him. A great. Wish he would have played football instead of basketball, but it's just one of those things. Next up, I was telling you about Charles Woodson being the best. I feel like the second best is Deion Sanders.
Mhm.
Um, one of those guys, like you said about your previous guy, Joe Hayden,
Yeah.
didn't fill up the stat sheets, but it's because nobody was throwing the ball his direction. One of those rare cornerbacks who can like lock up one side of the field, which I really
Yeah.
have not seen a lot of, probably since Jalen Ramsey, if I'm being honest with you. Um, Two-time All-American, Jim Thorpe winner, even was a solid punt returner back in his day.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to Dion, great person. Um, Now this is where it gets interesting for me because it's a lot of names, and I feel like I know I'm going to get heat because I have an older uncle who's
Hmm.
a FSU fan. He talks about that era like it's the only football that's ever been played. But Peter Warwick, I believe I'm pronouncing this name correctly.
Yep. The receiver. Yep.
Yeah, 3,500 receiving yards, uh, 38 touchdowns in total, also a national champion, and a three-time All-American. Great, great player. Um, I miss those old Florida State jerseys because I'm looking back at those highlights in my head right now. Um, but great player. This is my last one. This was hard because there's so many people I know I'm going to leave out, but it's we can only pick the top four. Um, okay, so I want to say, let me make sure I pronounce his name right. His name is Chris Wanique
Winky.
Winky. Also, another guy who had 10,000 passing yards was 32-3 as a starter at FSU. Also, a Heisman Trophy winner, and a national championship winner. And it's funny because, um, like I said, that era of Florida State was just so dominant.
Hmm.
I kept looking at other names, which I don't want to give off yet because you still got to get off your top four. But that era was so dominant. I wish they would have won more, but I know it was a lot of teams, even in the state of Florida, that was just as good, if not better than them. So, but this was a tough one because they got so many guys, even historically. If you look back at the '60s,
I have Chris Winky as the greatest Florida State quarterback of all time.
I'm
I
not
don't
gonna.
I don't shit on Jameson. He had 2013 was phenomenal. I don't take that from him, but Chris Winky, like you said, those numbers were phenomenal throughout the
Mhm.
years he was at Florida State. So I can't take nothing from Chris. Chris was a dog. Um, Dion was a no-brainer because of what he did as well. But also Jalen Ramsey was a no-brainer because of
Wow,
the fact that once again, people he was
he was.
a,
Yeah,
a wildcat on that defense. I mean, we can't take nothing from Jalen Ramsey. And if I feel like people didn't take Jalen Ramsey seriously in college.
they definitely
What he
didn't.
got, like they appreciated him like when he was leaving in Jacksonville, and then when he won that Super Bowl, that's when people started appreciating him. I've
Yeah,
always been a Jalen Ramsey guy since he's been at FSU. Because like I said, his numbers was phenomenal. Not the fact that he had the numbers, Jake Will.
he
He
was consistent.
still was locking down, and he didn't care who was on him. He didn't.
Mm.
He would guard whoever.
Even his
Sometimes
freshman.
he even was like a safety, putting him on the tight end or some type of deal. That's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. Jalen Ramsey is probably better than Dion as a FSU corner.
Now you may get some heat with that. I don't.
I'm ready for him. I got the bullets and I got receipts for him. So I think by far Jalen Ramsey was better than Dion as
Wow.
a Florida State corner. I'm going to say it. And last but not least, my man Derek Brooks was
Yeah.
a phenomenal player in 1993 and 94 to watch. And had great numbers and was another All-American. Was robbed another All-American in 93, but we're not going to talk about that. So I'll leave it alone. So those are my guys, but I don't take nothing from Jameis. Jameis, good. Like I said, 2013 was historical, but like I said, Chris Winke's numbers was way better.
It's tough because I was also thinking about that. Was it Bobby Bowden too at Florida State? Uh, Thinking
Um,
about it in my head because when you said about the coaches, when we was doing the list of my last name, I was
yeah,
like, I want to say him or do I just want to stick with my original? And I just decided to stick with my
I
original. But
wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have even said nothing to you if you would have put Bobby up there.
you're a legend, man. Rest in peace. But
I
yeah,
still took go Bobby, man.
oh,
And
that was a
Bobby's
tough
one of
one.
them GOAT coaches that like don't nobody talk about, which
You
he
know,
needs to be talked about enough.
kind of the same with the guy from Michigan. I feel like Bobby, because I think, people don't really know this, but FSU kind of was still like a newer school to like join. Like they joined like late 60s,
They did. They
time period.
did.
It's, most college football teams from around that time period, already here. So like he basically had to start off new team, new program, and he kind of led them to, this current success. Because it's kind of crazy. I feel like out of like most college football teams that are kind of like relevant, Florida State, I believe, is probably like the youngest out of most of them, just about all of them, from the schools that are relevant, meaning that they have actually won something. That's a hopefully they can turn it around.
Yeah, I think the football program didn't start until the
Yeah.
62 it says. That's interesting. Hold on. Let me look at that again.
Back when Ole Miss was winning national championships.
He just had to throw that in. For Florida State, it began in 1902, but it really didn't get up there, like you said, to like 1960 something.
Really? You said 1902?
It began in like 1902. Yep, Florida State University's football program began in 1902 when Florida State College played its first three seasons. The team was called the 11 and wore the gold uniform. Okay.
Oh, I think they didn't move up a division until 1960.
Yeah, they
Not,
didn't become like that divisional, like you just said. Hmm.
and it also shut down a couple of times too due to World War II and all these other wars. It's interesting.
Yeah, 92, they joined the ACC in 92.
I'm pretty sure they were independent before, or were they Big East? I can't remember.
They
Were
don't
they?
even say that.
I know they were independent for a little bit. I can't remember if they were part of the Big East or not.
Yep, 92, they joined the conference, ACC. Okay,
Shout out Florida State.
there you go. Where we at? Where we at? Oh, so this is gonna be
Yeah, this is the intro.
Miami Hurricanes, y'all.
I had so much fun doing research on this one.
Miami Hurricanes is one that needs two or three more Rushmores. I narrowed it down to one.
This is a tough one, man. Uh,
This was difficult, man. I kind of don't even want to tell you.
I feel like out of the ones we've done so far, Miami was the most difficult to choose four people from. I feel like.
I
I
see.
think so far, this was the
Um,
most difficult.
no.
I think so. Just because they have a lot of defensive names as well, it's tough.
Right, but I still think that punk ass Alabama one was difficult too.
Yeah.
Alabama got on my nerves a little bit, so that's not bad. But I was really sitting here doing homework on this. Um, I'm like, Miami really has some killers on here
Yeah.
that, like, I don't even want to disrespect and leave off. And one of them is my favorite player of all time that I will be leaving off the list. So
You know,
go ahead, bro.
I'm interested to hear your list first before I give off mine. I'm not gonna lie, because you saying that kind of makes me like
Hmm.
curious.
I kind of wanted you to go first, but um, I gotta go with Ed Reed, man. It's the ball hawking safety. Um, and this was difficult. I was torn between because I'm like, can't leave Sean Taylor out there, but I had no choice. And that was my man. Sean Taylor was my guy, Jay Will. Like, you don't understand, like, when I found out he died, I cried. That's
Oh yeah,
because he was like really one of my favorite players. I know he played for Washington. Nobody cared for the Redskins like that, but when Sean Taylor stepped on that field, man, his presence was known. So I had to put him in the honorable mention. So rest in peace, Sean Taylor. But I had to give that spot to Ed Reed, man. His numbers were just too incredible. Not only once again, not with the numbers, people. His ball play was everything. Special teams was everything. Not just punt returns, kick returns. He did it all. And he was just such a great leader in that locker room. I was just watching people like when they interviewed when they went to Miami, they was like, man, Ed Reed was this, Ed Reed was that. You just heard nothing but good things around him. Great student, athlete, all that stuff. So shout out to Ed Reed. I'm gonna go with the playmaker, Mr. Michael Irvin. You disagree?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. But
What?
he's also a guy that was like, I don't want to disrespect, but I don't got him on my list.
It's yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like it's not one of these ones where you could disrespect him because he really like
It's just so many guys, man.
it really is, and
Especially in that little era, like right there, it's
it
tough.
was, bro. And it's like he made Vinny Testaverde raw. Like, come on now. It's like, all right. Oh my God.
It's tough, man. And I know you're gonna disagree with some of the
This is
names.
difficult, y'all. Once again, I had to leave off Ken Dorsey. I had to leave Ken Dorsey off. But then again, I had to put Ken Dorsey because his 3 years was great.
Yeah, it's tough.
But nah, I'm taking Ken off, y'all.
Wow.
I'm gonna take Ken off.
Ken was a tough one for me too.
Ken was a tough one for me. Hey, Lewis.
He was that guy. Listen, this is a tough one. Man. Oh man.
This was a tough one too. People who like said people who know me, I had to leave Ray Ray off too. This is difficult, bro.
It's horrible,
It
man.
was so many like the only reason I had to put the greatest coach of Miami history, Mr. Coach Howard, definitely deserves a spot on Mount Rushmore. So Ed Reed, Michael Irvin, Coach Howard.
I think you said Dort what oh I think he took Dorsey off actually.
I had to take Dorsey off.
See what I mean? I feel like this one's a tough one, man. Like that's why I was saying I feel like this is the toughest one I've done because
Because there's so many players from.
from
Bro,
just
I
that
had to leave my favorite player of all time, Mr. Ray Lewis, off. I had to leave him off. I had to leave Warren Sapp off. I had to leave Mr. Sean Taylor off. Dorsey was a dog. Ted Hendricks was a dog. Oh my God. It was just so many people. But I gotta go with Clinton.
Yeah, Clinton.
Clinton
Yeah,
was probably one of the best Miami running backs I've seen in a while.
and it
And
was tough.
then no disrespect to Gore and them, but Clinton Portis was raw.
And it's tough too because on that
Mm,
Miami team, wasn't he splitting carries too, if I'm not mistaken? And he
he
still had
was.
like 200, rushing yards. So like,
Hmm.
just imagine if he was just the main back.
Exactly. And it was difficult. Even it was really difficult between Jim Kelly and Ken.
Yeah,
But that's like I said, I got Coach Howard, Ed Reed, Michael Irvin, and Clinton for my Miami Hurricanes, Mount Rushmore.
this is gonna be an interesting one because I want to see your reaction to this. So,
Hmm.
out of the names you just said, only have one guy that you stated. That guy was Ed Reed.
Hmm.
Started every single game he played from freshman year to the year he decided to go pro.
Yep.
Um, 21 total interceptions. And I know you mentioned numbers, but he was so good.
Right.
And he's like one of those guys where like he kind of the way he got his interceptions where he kind of like lurked. So he kind of like, made it seem like the quarterback had a good read and like out of nowhere he just comes and make a
Here he
play.
comes. Exactly.
Crazy. Like
That's how Sean was too.
he may be Ed Reed may be like just watching the highlights, he may be like one of the nastiest I've seen. Like it's disgusting. I just
Exactly.
I don't see how anybody else could do the things he did. So I had to now. Um, this one was tough, but I feel like I did have to put Ken Dorsey on mine just because he did play for 3 years, over 10,000 yards passing, two-time Heisman finalist, but could never just win it. I forgot what year or who won it that year. Um, 86 total touchdowns, but only 12 interceptions. But the more I think about it, it's still just like as good as Ken Dorsey was it just because he had the offense as well? You know what I mean? And like he had a powerful running game.
I
So like
don't know about that.
well, he wasn't just out.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
think
he kind of was that. Though. I don't know. He was just good though.
he had a couple pieces when I did some research on him.
He did, but he still was. If that's the case, shit, then Joe Burrow. We got to take it from Joe Burrow and Cam. They had the pieces too.
Yeah, but they pieces were like
Hey, so was kids. Kids pieces.
all right,
Kids pieces. I don't know. He was set up. It's like he was set up for success. In
all
my
right. Now,
opinion.
I know you said Sean, um, Sean Taylor. I know you talked about Ray Lewis. I'm surprised when you were naming defensive players, you didn't name this one, and I have him on my Mount Rushmore. Uh,
Donovan Wilma.
yeah, Jonathan Vilma. I have
Love
him. He, when I look back at his stuff, it seemed like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of pieces on that team, but it seemed like he was that emotional leader of that 2001
it.
Hurricanes. You
He
know,
definitely was.
um, he was a good run stopper, three-time All Big East selection and All American. Had 250 tackles in total, 42 of them being tackles for loss. Jesus, that Miami defense was that's
Well,
disgusting.
nasty. Right.
Um,
Right.
that's I wish I was born in that era just to watch that team play. But he, like I said,
You missed a
he was
lot.
kind of like he kind of felt like he was the emotional leader of that team. Yeah, I missed it, man. That's uh, y'all are lucky. You're lucky. All right, this last name. You also did not mention this person, but after doing research on him, I'm gonna have to keep him, even though there's so many names. Um, After doing research on him, I feel like I had to respect him. Um, Excuse me if I pronounce his name wrong, but Gino Torretta. Played in 1992,
Good job.
had over 7,500 total yards, 49 total touchdowns, also a Heisman winner. I was kind of shocked because usually I know my football, but I looked his numbers up and I was like, he won a Heisman, and like I had to make sure I wasn't tripping, whatever. But great player, two-time Big East Player of the Year. That's why I got FSU and Miami confused because Miami played in the Big East,
Yeah,
but also just another great player who kind of led that Miami offense. But this one was a disgusting one because I hate leaving out Ray Lewis.
me
I
too.
hate.
Me
Same with
too.
Clint Portis, man. Ugh.
No.
They need to make two Mount Rushmores for
As I
Miami.
said, it's enough to make a couple, especially with Miami. That's Miami, bro.
It's tough, man, because that era, it's just so many defensive guys. Like, I hate to leave them out. Wasn't Vince Wilfork on that team too?
Mm-hmm. Vince Wilfork numbers was great too. That's what I'm
He was.
saying. People forget about Jeremy Shockey, who pretty much was 1,000 yard tight end.
It's,
Kellen.
and it's
Kellen
funny.
was but Kellen was a good playmaker. That's what I give Kellen.
Yeah. It's just funny, man, because like it's not like they went after college, they became like nobodies. Like
And
there's some
I know these guys
and
won one, bro. That's
like
crazy.
even Will Fork, wasn't the Hall of Famer. He still was around for a good time as a starter. So I mean, it's tough.
He not in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think he is.
Two Super Bowls and he ain't in the Hall of Fame.
Look it up. I'm pretty sure he's not.
What? That's a little disrespectful.
Okay, he just got inducted this year.
Okay,
Okay. Well, no, he was a semifinalist, but he didn't get inducted.
that's crazy word.
What year did he retire? Because that could have been his first
This
one.
retired.
It was late 10, 2010, so I want to say.
He probably did play 2020 because he had a couple year run with the Texans once he left the Patriots.
Yeah, he was an
Probably
excellent.
2021,
Let me look it up real-
something like that.
Oh, he retired in 2017, so that means he definitely been on that ballot a couple times.
Wow.
He ain't been picked up yet.
Man,
He
y'all
may
gonna
get
call him, see what's going on.
shout out to him though, because I don't want to not mention his name when it came to Miami defensive guys.
There's so many names. Like I said, Frank Gore.
Yeah.
There's just so many of them.
Who was also on that team, mind you, just he was a freshman, so he didn't really get snaps, I believe. That 2001.
Andre Johnson.
Like you said, Kellen Winslow, I believe. Yeah, he's
Yeah, it's just too many heavy hitters that went to Miami.
you're a lucky person to be able to watch that team.
Yeah, it was an honor. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now this one was interesting. Georgia Tech was a little interesting too.
Yeah.
So Georgia Tech was not that difficult, but I also had to look up a few of these names. Like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, they got good numbers. This and that. So of course I got to go with Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Uh, this guy played for your organization, one of the greatest centers, Mr. Bill Curry. Um,
I'm glad you were picking lineman. I'm glad you picked the lineman.
had to, and I was looking at his numbers at Georgia Tech. So I was like, damn, all right, cool, cool. Oh man, Joe Hamilton, and this one was a little interesting between Pat and Keith Brooking. Pat
Mm,
Swelling and Keith Brooking was like, I think they were kind of tied. So it'd be like a coin toss to put one of them two up there because they both was like great players at Georgia Tech, and their numbers are sort of similar too. But I'll probably end up picking Keith up there.
This one was a very it was like you said, it wasn't necessarily tough, but it was kind of one of those things where you did have to do the research.
Hmm.
Um, I do have a couple of those guys up there. Obviously Calvin Johnson. I mean, I don't even think we need to discuss him. Over
Mm-mm.
300,000 yards receiving, 29 total touchdowns. Won the best wide receiver award. I forgot the guy's name, Fred something, Lincoln off or something like that. Um, all around great player. I also do have Joe Hamilton, another guy who had over 10,000 yards passing, 83 touchdowns before the triple option era. I always like to mention that because I love the Georgia Tech option era.
Right,
It
facts.
was annoying if you were playing against them,
Right.
obviously, but watching them, it was pretty fun.
Mhm.
With the triple option being said, and this one I had to think about, but I feel like I got to pay respect to him. Um, Demarius Thomas
Yo,
played in
rest in
all
peace. Yes, sir.
They played it. He played in that triple option offense. Still was able to get 2,300 receiving yards with 15 total touchdowns. And then looking back at that specific year, just because I was kind of interested, triple option team, with Demarius Thomas, how does that kind of work? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
go away from it, let him do plays. But it was also one of those things where, like, let's say the ground game wasn't working, like Thomas could just completely take over and like give them that offensive leverage to kind of like
Right.
mix it, kind of get it involved. You know what I mean? Like it'll
Right.
be 3rd and 1 or whatever, and instead of doing it like the run in, they'll fake the run. Demarius Thomas open like on one-on-one coverage, and then just takes off. So I do have to put respect there for him, but it was kind of hard because it was like
It was. It was difficult. It was difficult.
my last guy I have taking it back to 1982 to 1984. I have Robert Levette. He had over 4,000 rushing yards, 46 total touchdowns, and actually in 1982 he was second in rushing touchdowns that year. He had 22 of them behind Greg Allen of FSU. And when I saw the Greg Allen name, I was like, this man had over 22 touchdowns. Let me go check over. Let me redo my Florida State list real quick. Just make sure I'm not
Right,
missing anything.
right. Not you want overlooking nothing.
Yeah. But I feel like he was a big part of that 1980s Georgia Tech team during that little decade. So I feel like I did have to put him on my list
Yeah,
because his stats were kind of just not a lot of running backs can really do that.
for sure, Drew. Sure.
That was an interesting one.
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Interesting.
Nebraska was a boring team.
Yeah, I was let. I was let. I'm glad you said that because I was
Mm.
kind of let down, but I didn't know if I wanted to say that because even though they've had the errors, it's just like I expected more
I'm
guys.
kind of mad I put Nebraska on this list, but they
That,
were a top 25 school at one point.
yeah, it's
Here goes the boring segment, y'all.
all right.
I'm going to put the reckless, the Dominican Sue up there. This is a waste of time. Sam Francis, 1930s. I don't even think nobody's allowed to even remember him or whoever watches the show. If you are alive, comment below. Let me know if you've seen him play or not. Um, my father saw this guy play, Mr. Bobby Newton.
Bobby Newton, yeah.
Bob Newton, sorry, offensive tackle. I think he only played like 2 years, 1 year. And my pop said, I don't know for sure. And another offensive guard who's in the Hall of Fame, I guess, Bob Brown.
Yeah, Bob Brown, yeah.
Shout out to those guys. Sorry, Nebraska fans. This was not interesting in my point. So I kind
Do,
of want to get it over with. So you can go ahead, Jeff.
I know, do people still consider Nebraska as a blue blood? I know
And
there
that's
was,
what I'm saying. Like, and I'm looking at the players. I'm like, really? This guy went here?
yeah, it's just not, nobody just like sticks out.
It don't. And that's what I'm looking like. It was boring.
Besides Sue, I'll say that. Um,
Yeah.
I do have Sue on my list. 300 exactly total tackles,
Yeah.
24 sacks, 50 carries for losses. I also didn't know he was in the Heisman race until 2009. He was fourth. That's crazy. Um, but that senior year, explosive. Only thing to really talk about from Nebraska since
You say
2000,
what year? 2009.
2009.
What player did I tell you was up there in 2009?
Yeah. Who's he telling?
Joe Hayden, boy, I told you. I told you, man. I tried to tell
Was Joe
you.
Hayden that year?
Joe Hayden, he was like top corner in 2009 at Florida.
I have to look back and see that Heisman.
Yeah, look that up. I'm trying to tell you.
Um, I did have to put Amir Abdullah up there. I forgot he went to Nebraska for a little bit, but he was one of those guys I used to watch his kind of highlight clips when I was little. I did not know he had over 4,500 total rushing yards. He had 2 seasons over 1,600 yards, 46 total touchdowns. Also, his freshman year, he had 763 kickoff return yards his freshman year. Now, obviously, of course, when you're that good at returning, they're not gonna put you back out there your sophomore, junior year. They
Right,
want
right, right.
you. But that's crazy to me. So I do have to put him up there. This one I was really this name I was disappointed in because I saw this name and I was like, oh yeah, I know this guy, whatever. I looked at his stuff and I was like,
He do
huh.
shit up there, huh?
Like
What are you talking about?
he did stuff. I just wasn't moved. Eric Couch.
Yep, I knew it. I knew
Yeah,
you were gonna
and
say
I
that.
was really disappointed, man, because I'm like, I
I
understand
knew
like he
you
was
was
a
about to
running
say
back,
him. I knew you was about to say him. Because I'm
like
looking at him too. I'm like, he was kind of garbage there.
I understand like his whole deal was like, he liked to run the ball, but like his passing stats were pathetic to me. Like 29 touchdowns and I think 24 interceptions is not a good ratio to me. I think his best season passing the ball, he still only had like over 1,500, which is really nothing. But he did have 3,000 career rushing yards as a QB. Um, he did somehow got had over 59 touchdowns. Somehow was a Heisman winner in 2001. Was he
Really?
really that guy? Like 2001, was he really? Do you remember just kind of like watching back if you watched that Nebraska team at all and just remember him being just that?
I don't remember him being that raw.
So yeah, that's why I'm kind of confused as to like how he even got it because I know 2001, especially with that Miami team, this it could have been,
Nah, it don't ring a bell. It don't
but
ring a bell to me.
yeah, but and then my last guy, like he said, this is a very disappointing list. A guy named Barrett Rudd had 432 total tackles. When I looked at that, I was like, that's crazy. But he played for 5 years as well.
Yeah.
But that's 90 more than any other Nebraska player all time. Was a freshman All American, 3-time Big 12 All Conference player, also forced seven forced fumbles throughout his career. So I feel like I had to put him up there, mainly due to having that many tackles.
What's his name
Barrett Rudd.
again?
Rudd spelled Ruud.
Oh yeah, I got him right here. Damn.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me too, because I was looking at defensive guys, but apparently he was drafted 2005 to the Bucks second round.
Damn. Okay. Shout out to you. I did not know that you was up there, guy. Wow.
I'm kind of disgusted. I don't even want to do a deep dive. That was just man. Ugh.
That's crazy, man.
Anything else you need to say about
Nope.
Nebraska?
No thanks.
Ugh. Yeah.
Here, the Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma was by far interesting because I looked at the history and I'm looking like this was running back university here, man.
Hmm.
Like, damn. You can honestly sit here and say that Oklahoma, that they Mount Rushmore probably is all running backs. But I got one defensive player that's up here.
Okay, I'm ready to listen.
They went undefeated in the 50s. I got to put Tommy McDonald up there. Of course, our modern guy, Mr. Adrian Peterson, who I wouldn't even know who Oklahoma was until I heard his name. Oh, no, never mind. I'll take that back. The next player was the next player. But yeah, he was definitely one of the reasons why I watched him.
Hmm.
But this player right here was the reason that I knew Oklahoma existed. Mr. Roy Williams, one of the greatest safeties playing that era.
This is gonna
So,
be a tough one.
and I gotta go with Mr. Billy Sims, man. That's I'm looking at Billy's numbers, and damn, the
Yeah,
rest is history with Billy Sims. He was a crazy running back in the 75.
man, this is a tough one. I will say because, like you said, looking back, they had some great running backs.
Didn't they though?
But at the same time, they had a lot of defensive guys.
They did.
So with that being said, my first guy, let me make sure I get the era he played in right because I don't want
Hmm.
to disrespect him. But taking it back all the way to the 1972, this guy's name was Leroy Selman. And I did research on him because at first I'm like, okay, who is this guy? And then had 40 total tackles in his career, or excuse me, 40 sacks in his career,
Yep.
130 total tackles, was a two-time All-American. The more I dug into him, the more like accomplishments I saw. Like I didn't know him, but in 2006, apparently he was ranked as the 21st best college football player of all time.
Hmm.
And the more I did more research into him, there's also a funny myth that says the 4 seasons he played at Oklahoma, he was never knocked off his feet, which to me is crazy. I don't know if that's true or not, but that kind of shows you how dominant he was at that
That's
position. So,
crazy. You mentioned Leroy. I met Leroy.
really,
This was back in '08, 3 years before he passed away. I remember Leroy. He passed away in 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, you're right, because that's what it says.
Because when I'm sitting there talking to him, and he was like, y'all don't know, you don't know who that is? I was like, no, who is it? He played for the Bucks, the Tampa Bay Bucks. I was like, he didn't? Fuck out of here. I was like, I didn't know he was like from like back in the '70s though. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, rest up Leroy. I met him before. Yeah.
a great player. Like once again, like no disrespect to him. Like I just me being a younger person, I just didn't know who he was. It's nothing in my era.
Yeah, trust me, I didn't either. I didn't like, and that's what made me appreciate like the older I got, Jay, was the more like, because I was a defensive guy my whole football career. Never played offense, never did that bad. So me being able to like appreciate and look up, this is why I do shows like this, to look up and see, damn, these guys did this and that. That's why I don't put offensive players like other knuckleheads. I ain't gonna throw no shots at nobody.
Mhm.
But if you see guys do these Mount Rushmore episodes on their podcast or anybody else or who you talk to, you see nothing but offensive players. I gotta pay homage to my defensive guys because I was a defensive.
And then also, I feel like watch because
Yeah,
I've watched similar.
right.
Also, a lot of recency bias with it. Like nobody
Facts.
has to give credit to the guys from back in the day just because they
They
feel like
don't. And they
they think
don't, bro.
football was just different at that that time period. But at the same time, it's still like these guys. They like this guy won a national championship. Leroy,
Mhm.
40 sacks. That's still
You
kind
say
of
he was the number 3 player in the
he,
like nation?
from it's a newspaper called College Football something. They ranked him as the 21st or headlines, excuse me. They ranked him as the 21st best college football player of all time in 2006.
'Cause I think my uncle said he was like a first round, like first pick, like first round number 1 pick. Let me
Uh,
look up.
he was in 1976. Won NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1997. Six-time Pro Bowler. Um, he was on that NFL 100th anniversary All Team.
1976 round 1 pick one. Down. Uncle Koopy was not lying. NFL Player of the Year 79, 3-time first team. Oh,
That man, tough.
Leroy
28,
was tough, and he in the Ring of Honor.
28 forced fumbles in his career. 70 about 80 sacks, about 750 tackles.
Wish I could have took a picture of this man.
See, like now I feel like I got see that's what I was saying. Like I
That's
was
defensive greatness. Because, like I said, when I met him, I just thought he was an elderly dude, just like to talk. I didn't know, like, he was like, you don't know who that was? I was like, no, am I supposed to know who he was? Like, no, this Leroy, I'm
yeah,
sorry, no disrespect to you, but it was just, damn,
you gotta appreciate those guys,
yeah,
man.
I really talked to greatness here, bro. That's crazy.
It's just funny because, like I said, these are the people who shape up college football to be like what it is. And I feel like only if you're like like you said, a Buccaneers fan or an Oklahoma fan.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't know who he was. Ah, damn.
I'm glad we were able to pay homage to him today. Rest in peace.
Yo, rest in peace, Mr. Leroy, man. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, brother.
Oh yeah, but to go on with my list, I'm glad we had that conversation though. But to go on with my list, I feel like I got to put Baker Mayfield on there.
Yeah,
I,
Baker Mayfield not bad.
and he was tough because he didn't technically start out at Oklahoma. He came from Texas Tech, and
Hmm.
falling over there. Came to Oklahoma, played 3 years here. I'm surprised he didn't go pro his junior year because I think he went the Heisman in his junior year.
Yeah.
But had 119 total touchdowns with only 21 interceptions. To me, is a crazy feat, in my opinion. Also had 12,000 passing yards just in those 3 seasons alone. That imagine if he would have been there 4 years. And he also, of course, he was the Heisman winner. But I feel like as much as much greatness is from Oklahoma, I feel like I had to put him there.
Well, yeah, most definitely.
Um, and then also, of course, shout out Adrian Peterson. Self-explanatory. Personally, in his peak, this may be a little off of college football topic here, but to me, he has the best uh, peak from a running back of all time. I believe that 2012 season with the Vikings. It was
Mhm.
never seen a guy who was so physical and then had the speed combination along with it. Oh, that's disgusting. So shout out Adrian Peterson. Was also his freshman year. His freshman year ran for 1,900 yards. His freshman year.
I
That
could not put AP up there. That's the real question.
I just had to say that for a second. AP was crazy.
That is wild, man.
And then yeah, I do have to put Billy Sims up there as well. Won the Heisman in 1978. Was the runner-up in 1979. Um, over 3,800 total rushing yards, 48 total touchdowns. Once again, paying homage to the guys before our time period because he's a little, 1978. I wouldn't even have thought. My mom was 2 years old, so shout out to Billy Sims. Pretty sure I did a project on him as well when I was a kid too, for like Black History Month or something like that.
Billy Sims. Mm-mm-mm.
Was it Billy Sims? Shit.
Yeah, Billy has some good numbers. Wow.
But yeah, so I got Baker Mayfield, Leroy Selman, Adrian Peterson, Billy Sims.
Billy Sims.
I hate leaving. Who did you say? Roy Williams.
Roy. I
Uh,
mean, like I said, Roy was just a one of them ball hawk safeties. I had to put him.
what year was he? 2000.
Roy. Roy got because when Roy got drafted, when did Roy get drafted? He moved that up. I'm still amazed that this guy was really raw. I'm sorry. That's going.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna call my pops after this show.
That's
I was like, "Hey man, you remember that black dude we talked to in Florida a couple years ago?"
it's,
Damn.
it's crazy because you just never know. Like these guys really were the it factor. You know what I mean? And like I said, people not gonna talk about them because it's just not their era. But I feel like it's our job to kind of remind these people or
Pause.
introduce new people to who these people are.
Well, he got drafted 22, so he was like early 2000s.
Yeah, probably 1999 to 2001. Yeah, good old Roy Williams. What pick was he? Let me just say.
He
Talking about this guy.
was first round 8 by the Cowboys. Yep, because I remember the Cowboys picked him. Yeah, sure do. Hell of a career too. One
Yeah,
All Pro,
I hate.
5-time Pro Bowl. But like I said, here's that college. BCS National Champion 2000. Yeah, the Jack Tatum Award. Oh, that's NFL. My bad. An All-American Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year and a two-time All Big 12. That's what I'm saying. He was a good player.
Real good player. That's why I hate to leave him off, man. But
Hate that he went to the Cowboys though, but who cares? That's bias.
have to
That's
leave.
bias, bro. That's bias.
That was a good one. I like Oklahoma's. Definitely a good definitely a good one to do after Nebraska. So
Thanks. Yeah, we had to redeem ourselves after that one.
that's disgusting.
All right, last but not least, Oregon.
Oh, did you skip did we do Georgia? I don't know if you got Georgia on your list.
Did I put Georgia on ours?
It's
No,
okay,
Georgia was last episode, wasn't it? Let me look at the list. I wrote it down. Let me look.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, let me look at my list too.
Hold on, y'all. Give us a minute. I think no, okay, Oklahoma was Oregon. I did skip Georgia. They were supposed to be before Georgia Tech.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, if you ain't got it ready, we can do it tomorrow. It's no
No,
big
you
deal.
good. No, we'll run through Georgia real quick.
All right.
Who you got?
All right. Let me find Florida
Now
FSU.
this one, y'all, I gotta look up because I didn't do Georgia.
This one, I feel like Georgia is also a program where their top guys are kind of, or at least most of them are kind of set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not that I'm really a fan of this guy these days, but Herschel Walker was one of the best running backs of all time. Over 5,200 rushing yards, which is crazy. 49 total touchdowns, Heisman winner. Kind of self-explanatory.
Pretty much.
If you watch Georgia football, you know who Herschel Walker is, hopefully. If not,
Yeah.
textbook. Um, Secondly, I have Hines Ward. I did not know he went to Georgia until doing this research. But he played multiple positions, had 4,700 all-purpose yards. Uh, get this, 2,000 of them are from receiving,
Mm-hmm.
1,000 of it was from rushing, and he also had 900 passing yards as well.
Yep.
That's insane.
One
I
of my
don't think I've
favorite
ever
receivers of
seen a
all
person.
time. Yep. I'm for it.
I don't know if I've ever seen a person or can remember a person that did all three and did it kind of effectively like that. Um, This guy, I'm so happy that I get to say his name because I feel like people don't like to talk about him like all the time, and I understand it, but still, Champ Bailey.
Yeah.
Oh, he's that guy, man. Lockdown corner, could play both sides of the ball. Was also a special teams player, a two-time All-American, and he was kind of a cornerstone for that Georgia defense in the late '90s. Great player. I feel like nobody likes to talk about Champ Bailey, even like in the NFL. I feel like he doesn't get his respect,
Oh
man.
my God.
Respect to Champ Bailey. Um, my last but not least, this one was kind of tough because this was like, okay, you got one spot left. Who really deserves it the most? And excuse me if I'm pronouncing this name wrong because I've always have on ESPN. But David Pollock or Polak,
Mhm.
um, I did not know. I watched him on ESPN or whatever on college game days, and I'm like, okay, this is a regular, commentator. I pull up George's name. I'm like, what is he doing here? And I see his name. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. Uh,
You
at
said
four,
that for real?
yeah, he Georgia sack leader had 14 sacks in 2002, three-time All SEC, All American guy. I'm kind of disappointed that I did not know that because I watch
Oh,
him every single week on College Game Day.
you ain't know that, huh?
He don't even look like, he's skinny now. He don't even look like a defensive end anymore. But man, shout out to David.
Mm. Well, I wasn't prepared for Georgia, y'all, so I'm just gonna run through it. I gotta go with Hines Ward. Of course, he's one of my favorite Steeler, one of my favorite Steelers of all time, one of my favorite Georgia Bulldogs of all time. I'm gonna definitely go with AJ Green. AJ Green has some good numbers up there too. I think two
I just thought about a name that I
overall
forgot.
Big 12s. Yeah, yeah. Like, let me look at this statue. AJ Green was definitely like my guy.
He was there for 3 years. He's pretty effective. But
So yeah,
now
two-time All-American, two first team All SEC, second
I'm
team All SEC, and the freshman of the year.
thinking about a couple guys in my head too that I think when I was doing this list probably
Yeah.
forgot a couple.
Gotta go with Kirby Smart, who helped build that program.
Even played. Well, did he play at Georgia too?
Kirby did play at Georgia. Yeah, you're right. I
Today, yeah.
think he did play at Georgia. And last but not least, I ain't gonna disrespect Stetson Bennett like that.
Hey man, I'm here for it. I'm
Huh?
not a Stetson Bennett guy at all. Never been in college.
Yeah, I can. I can. Bennett was. I'm not gonna leave Bennett off Georgia. He said you all for you for the smoke, huh?
Hey man, I've never been a Bennett guy. I feel like personally he's kind of overrated college wise. So you putting Bennett down as your four? I mean, he is a
Yeah, I
two.
can't put Bennett there. As much as I dislike Herschel Walker, he's a jerk. I gotta put Herschel up there.
Yeah, I don't like.
Herschel Hines, AJ Green, and Kirby Smart, Georgia.
It's tough too because I was sitting here thinking, I was like, I can't remember how many years Matt Stafford played there. I can't remember, but um,
Matt
also
played
had
Matt played three because he got there '06 and left in '09.
yeah, and then they also had Aaron Murray, who has a
And
lot of
Murray was told too.
passing records. I think he holds the record for like the highest like completion rate in SEC
Hmm.
history. And he has a number of other records too, and I hate that I have to leave him off there. I have to look up his stats like really quick to see. But he was also one of those names where people don't really talk about him because he didn't have the NFL success. But SEC wise, he was a pretty good quarterback. I feel like he was better than Stafford and Bennett. Just never been a Bennett guy. I feel like I've always felt like he was more so carried by his team around him, and that's what made him so successful. Plus, he was a 6 year senior. I don't like 6 year seniors. That's a topic for another day. But I feel like once you hit a certain number of years, you got to go.
You gotta go. Facts.
Trying to think of who else. I was thinking when I first came into this list, I was thinking like, Georgia running backs, outside of Herschel Walker, because, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, but they didn't play for as long as I thought they did.
They didn't. Gurley didn't. Chubb didn't.
Chubb had the injury.
Sony Mitchell was like the number one.
So yeah,
And Sony Mitchell have a nerve to be a damn Super Bowl champion.
I know that's crazy. I got a friend he's actually cousins with Sony, and he always says it's funny because he talks about Sony always said like he never felt like he was the best running back on any team he's ever played for outside of high school.
That's because he was. That's because he
That's like,
was not, boy.
but shout out Sony Mitchell.
Yeah, shout out to him. He won the Super Bowl, so
Tired early too. Got his break out of there.
um, yep, got the ring and left. I think he
Mhm.
retired. That's crazy work.
I don't even think he's 30 yet.
Mm-mm-mm.
But I guess, as a running back when your career is kind of see it dying the last couple of years, no point in just, hoping, sticking around.
That is true. All right, this is Oregon. Oregon was kind of crazy too.
I feel a little disappointed in Oregon. But I have to continue to remind myself, like, Oregon, as good as they are now,
Hmm.
definitely got the pass, really didn't start becoming a figure until, Nike blew up and, the what's the guy's name? Phil Knight kind of started invested heavily into Oregon sports. Like, even now, I think he said that Oregon has like a lifetime NIL deal, which is crazy.
That's wild.
But
Just like how what we say, Oklahoma running backs. I didn't
mhm.
know Oregon had these many quarterbacks.
I didn't too. I was
I'm
like, I was looking at the list. I was like, this is so many quarterbacks popped up, and I'm like, okay.
it
Some
did.
of them, I'm not
This
gonna
is
lie, most of them I didn't really know, but the numbers kind of backed up.
mm, mm, mm.
Let me start off for you.
Yes, please.
All right. So obviously, Marcus Mariota over 10,000 yards passing,
Mhm.
105 touchdowns. I did not know that. 29 rushing touchdowns as well. In general, had over 13,000 yards of total offense. He was there for 3 years, mind you. Could have been the first Oregon quarterback to win something. Beat Jameis Winston in the first round of the playoffs, and then obviously we saw what happened at Ohio State. Um, Mariota will always be one of those guys where I kind of wish worked out in the NFL just because he's such a good guy. Like he does a lot of stuff for the community and stuff like that. But shout out Marcus Mariota. Secondly, I thought about this guy. I feel like I have to put him there. Um, Justin Herbert was a tough one, but he also another guy who has 10,000 passing yards, 95 touchdowns with only 23 interceptions. Actually has the second highest win rate by any player in Oregon history, and that includes any of the players from today's team. It's kind of crazy.
That is good.
Thirdly, and I'm so glad because I'm so mad at myself because when I was doing research on Oregon, this guy's name did not pop up immediately, and when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm stupid. But LaMichael James, 5,000 career rushing yards, 53 touchdowns, unanimous All American in 2010, Heisman finalist as well. His worst rushing season. It was his freshman year where he still had 1,500 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I feel like looking at running backs, if you play that freshman year and you put up numbers like that, it's kind of hard to not put you on any Mount Rushmore unless you had injury issues or something like that.
Facts.
Um, so I got him. My last guy, this one was kind of I found him, but I didn't realize until like halfway through the information that he changed his legal name. Um, he played under Bobby Moore in 1969, but he changed his name to Ahmad Rashad.
Oh
Uh,
man, you took my guy.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but he had a thousand nine hundred 28 receiving yards and 19 touchdowns. Mind you, this is in 1969. While he also had 2,300 rushing yards and 60 touchdowns on the ground. So he's kind of a flexible wide receiver and running back.
Yep.
I tried to look up research as to why he changed his name, but he did look like he went a little cuckoo, I guess, from maybe that CT or whatever. But
You did. You
shout
did.
out to once again another legend from the 1960s. I really like. I'm so glad we did this because it's showing me that as much as a college football head I am, I really did not know a lot of great players from the 1960s and back. Like it's showing me like
Mm-hmm.
got to look back at your history sometimes, man.
You do. You do. It's so of course I got Ahmad Rashad, who's married to Felicia Rashad, you know, Miss Huxtable. Uh Joey Harrington had a great college career. He is in the Oregon Hall of Fame. Because I think he only had like 69 total yards though.
I think he numbers
But
wise similar.
numbers wise is okay, but I can't leave out Herbert and Mariota. Now, once again, a defensive guy. I gotta put DeForest Buckner on there.
Or just gonna go a different route. But
I had to because he was a good Oregon player though.
yeah, shout
Surprised
out.
you ain't got him on.
He's a cool. He wasn't even the only one. The defensive player I had in mind. He's a Hawaiian. He has a very Hawaiian name. He actually played not that long ago.
I think I know
Let me,
what you're talking about too.
but yeah, shout out to Forrest because one of my favorite Colts because he's the only relevant person on the defense. It feels like at times. But um,
Yeah,
see if I can.
DeForest is my guy, man. I had to put him on there, especially like, first team All American, Defensive Player of the Year 2015. He had a great hell of a college career. So
So, so this guy he played in around 2003, 2005. Was drafted first round, 12th overall by the Ravens. His name was Halota Nagaga.
oh, the defensive tackle dude. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but he also had some pretty good numbers as well. I don't know. I know I messed up his name very, very badly, but
Yes, you did.
um,
But it's okay.
I cannot pronounce this Hawaiian's name. But um, yeah, he was also another great player that I kind of hate to leave off because I wanted to put that one defensive player in there, but I had to tell myself like if I truly feel like these four offensive guys are the best,
And
just let it
once
ride.
again, Oregon is somebody like Patrick Chung. You had to leave off Patrick Chung. I'm like, dang, you got to leave off all these good names. I mean, I know Jonathan Stewart didn't have a good NFL career, but he had a hell of a career in Oregon. Royce Freeman.
Jonathan
Got to
Stewart
leave
was
off
pretty
all
solid.
these good guys.
Jonathan Stewart was pretty solid. He had 1,000 yard career or year in the
I think,
NFL.
yeah, he had, I think, actually, two. I think he probably did have two with the Panthers. Probably
He
did.
wasn't nothing just great, but he was solid.
Yeah, he just, well, like you said, he wasn't nothing to sneeze at. Like, oh, God, Jonathan Stewart. Yeah, he's him. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hey,
man, it's all good. All right, that's our part two. Part three tomorrow, y'all.
oh,
Jay
for sure.
Will, it's been a pleasure. We got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 9 teams tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I'm ready
I'm not
for it.
gonna lie to you.
I like the team names on these
These are pretty interesting.
ones.
That Arkansas. I got a few heavy hitters that you ain't even heard of.
Hey man, I'm ready for it because Arkansas. I had an old football coach. went to Central Arkansas, was an Arkansas fan.
Yeah.
Knows a lot of. He told us a lot of Arkansas history because he was just how coaches are when it comes to them talking football. But I know a lot about Arkansas. I'm really interested about Texas A&M.
Me too.
That's someone that's kind of caught my eye because they don't have rich football history from the past, but they have a lot of guys from 2000s, 2010s that could kind of make a name for themselves. So that's gonna
They
be
got
interesting.
one '90s player in there. Well,
Mhm.
they got one. They got one.
Trying to think of who do I know who this guy is.
Or we'll see tomorrow. Or we'll see tomorrow.
I say yeah.
All right, y'all. Me and my brother, we gonna head up out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Continue to like, comment, subscribe. No big deal. We gonna do 100 episodes this year, y'all. So right now, and it's only February. I hate that I gotta look this up, but I ain't been keeping track. We are. This is episode 14 of the year.
You getting there. You on track.
Got 86 more shows to go, y'all. So we gonna make it happen.
Here for it though. We here for it.
Yeah, Jay will be a part of our success. So we are nothing without him. So thank him for tuning in, joining.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak college football on your platform.
No problem, brother. And don't worry, I'm gonna have more topics for you. I'm gonna put you to work this year.
Yes, sir. Of
I'm gonna
course.
utilize it like other folks don't. So I got something for you. I got a lot of good stuff for you too. So I got a
Sounds
lot up here in this big dome, y'all. Pause. So continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, and everything. We love y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
yes, sir.
Peace, love, and all that good shit.
Yes, sir.